Hey you guys, I have some really exciting, detailed information about the architect and his plans for the city of Jerusalem, not only the temple being rebuilt, but expanding the city of Jerusalem to fit millions of people in there to come visit the temple. So this is going to be an exciting, detailed information for you out of the mouth of the chief architect and city planner of Jerusalem. Stay tuned to this video because it's just incredible. And these plans have been held secret for quite a few years now, but you're going to hear them now. So let me talk in detail about Yoram Ginsburg, the architect, city and regional planner of Jerusalem. He's the one who's in charge of the Temple Mount, building the temple and all of the details associated with it. So I want to share some details. So in this video, I'm going to share some details on my channel, Elijah and Moses, named after the two witnesses that I wrote about in my book. And that's why I called it the channel that. Not because I'm Elijah and Moses. But my name is Kimberly K. Ballard, and I'm the author of the book, The Almond Tree, Aaron's Rod, The Messiah King of Israel, available at Olive Press Publisher and all other online bookstores. So, just to clarify what this channel is about, it's about an incredible testimony of Jesus that I wrote about for 7 years with an 8th year editing. So let me get into the details about the leading architect of the team working to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, as well as dealing with how they're going to deal with crowds in the city of Jerusalem. This is truly astonishing, detailed information about this. Now, Yoram Ginsburg is the architect, city and regional planner in Jerusalem. And he's the one who actually said that it would take 7 years to build the temple from beginning to completion, which is interesting since we know that the Sanhedrin is going to pick another king, and that person is the Antichrist. Okay, and that sounds dramatic, but it really is just a person who sits in place of Jesus. So the Sanhedrin's choosing this king over the true king. In a very detailed interview to Chabad.info in August of 2015, Yoram Ginsburg, leading architect of a team working on Built Jerusalem, shares the details about the plans to design a new mega metropolis in the city of Jerusalem, including turning Ashdod into the biggest commercial center in the Middle East, Jerusalem into the religious center of the world, the size of New York City, to be populated by 10 million people, and at the heart of it all, of course, the temple. Yoram Ginsburg is a very well-known Israeli architect who had studied and specialized in architecture in Florence, Italy. He is currently a senior lecturer at the University of Ariel. Yoram is a secular Jew, a considered and rational person, and a man of deep thought. He views himself as a believer belonging to the group of transparent kippah. So he doesn't go around wearing a kippah on his head. And so he's not a rabbi. This person is an architect for the city and regional planner. So he's having major impact on preparing the city of Jerusalem for the building of the temple. Ginsburg was growing up in a non-religious school, but during his religion classes found the love to the God of Israel and Torah. Since then, I see my life as a mission and global responsibility. Therefore, when I was approached by Yehuda at Zion to serve as the architect responsible for the pre-planning of Jerusalem, my birth town, I saw in it a wonderful overseeing of the God of Israel. I felt like I was waiting for this phone call my entire life. Ginsburg and his team are quietly working on the Built Jerusalem project for the past 10 years, away from the public eye and the media, in almost complete secrecy. So that's why I'm bringing it to you, because it's been in secrecy. The main part of the plan is classified as secret, says Ginsburg. It is impossible to share them. They are still not approved for advertising for now. There are various groups and organizations in Israel who support the idea of building the third temple, some looking for ways of compromise with the Arabs and Palestinians and a liberal ecumenical solution. Others, like Yoram Ginsburg, Yehuda Etzion, and his colleagues, see a vision of one Jewish nation in the land of Israel that exercises sovereignty over the entire territory of the land. Arabs will be equal citizens if they pledge their allegiance to the state of Israel and even take up or convert to Judaism. Most of Ginsburg's friends and colleagues, when asked to comment on the project, either say that it's an ambitious idea or an imagination disconnected from reality. But when asked about the possibility of the third Jewish temple being erected tomorrow, most skeptical people respond to the idea positively and with great joy. The vast majorities of Israelis adopted a modern lifestyle of pleasure and individualism void of all content and real hope. This state of consciousness can be compared to a shapeless dough. Without a compass and source of authority, God of Israel and Torah, we are left in a hopeless state, destined to lose our direction, says Ginsburg. This is why I've enlisted for this project, whose goal is to project in the present the picture of the future, built Jerusalem, thus also return the spirit and hope to all those parts of the Israeli society. Today, most of the nation has lost its direction, no central anchor in their lives. Jerusalem itself is a testimony built without a clear plan or hierarchy, no real presence or a point of anchor, and therefore with no identity or character. All these things force us to understand that the nation needs a direction. Well, I would say that Messiah Yeshua is that direction that they should take. The city will expand to gigantic proportions the world has not seen yet. Future Jerusalem is designed to be the capital of the world. It will increase its size 8-fold and will spread across an area of 1,000 kilometers. Times 2. Bet Shemesh, Male Adumim, Gush Etzion, Ramallah, Bet Lechem, which is Bethlehem. For comparison, Jerusalem currently spans an area of only 125 kilometers times 2, I guess, according to Ginsburg. Ginsburg sees future Jerusalem closer to the dimensions of today's New York City, and a city which inhabits within its territory 5 million residents, similar to Moscow of today. A 120-kilometer highway named Land Moriah Path, circling the borders of the city, will be built, which is a similar distance to a return trip from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. So they have a picture of the new built Jerusalem expansion. Let me show that to you here, if you can see this. It's kind of like a beltway, like in DC, it looks like. Most of Ginsburg's attention is aimed at the Butterfly Boulevard, which he sees as the heart of the plan. A boulevard encircling the temple from the palace of the commissioner through Mount Zion. Safra squares up to the Miasharim border, Ma'ala HaZitim, and Mount of Olives, totaling 8 kilometers times 2. I don't know, it says KM2. So this is called Butterfly Boulevard, with the new temple at the heart of it. This territory will be under the responsibility of the Temple Authority Committee, which will operate parallel to the municipality of Jerusalem and will be responsible for all that takes place in the Butterfly Boulevard. The temple will be located at a slightly lower location, to its neighboring hilltops. And basically, the temple is located in a sort of natural amphitheater, says Ginsburg. All throughout the world, it's very rare to find a place on a hill where all its surrounding hills are higher while being at the same distance from the center hill, and this creates a natural amphitheater. The only place that resembles this is Jerusalem's Har Shelah. The boulevard itself and its enormous surrounding hills would allow 10 million people to watch simultaneously what is happening outside the temple, the sacrifices of the priests, and its accompanied musical performances. The third temple will be much taller than the second temple. All the entrances to the city and its streets are designed in such a way as to connect to three massive forks, just like Rome, all leading to the Butterfly Boulevard, and from there straight to the temple, all designed to centralize Jerusalem and direct all who come in its proximity towards the center of the city, which is the temple. So this is how Rome was laid out, and you can see there's kind of like a beltway going around the city there. So that's what they're going to try to do. It's common to hear in the Torah that Jerusalem is the light to the nations. This is what we want Jerusalem to be, a city that will host everyone who comes to visit. Ginsburg sees in her the perfect city with a perfect merger between nature and technology, holiness and spiritual inspiration, with all of it coming together. 5 million people will be able to find a place to sleep in Jerusalem, and this is on top of the 5 million permanent residents. Every place a man will go to, he will feel at home. Everywhere will be a place to shade from the sun, a bench for rest, drinking water flowing, fruit trees, natural fresh air, and all for free. Local Jews will aid and provide hefty financial grants to every citizen of Jerusalem who will build an additional hosting unit. This feeling that will surround the future Jerusalem will be like a collective living room where everyone is responsible for its fulfillment. Everyone is contributing to the welfare and maintenance of the city. Every person that gets close to the outskirts of Jerusalem will feel the influence of the holiness. This wealth and fullness will instinctively create the need to contribute to the other, and this is the holiness itself, says Ginsburg. We therefore have to make sure that the holiness and the spirituality will have a material expression in the form of maximum comfort and abundance, to a point where everyone who will set foot in Jerusalem and will feel this material goodness will be intensely influenced by it. His awareness will change towards an awareness that will feel the special godly holiness of Jerusalem because of this site, the place of the dwelling of God, the temple. Parts of the Built Jerusalem project include plans for the city of Ashdod, which will be renamed to Marine Jerusalem. Ashdod will be appended to Jerusalem and will provide it access to the sea. The Marine Jerusalem will serve as the business center of Jerusalem because we want to separate the holy from the profane, says Ginsburg. And there will be a stock market office space, an underground train connecting the two cities, and all the non-religious matters that we don't want to be part of the holy city, a proper Manhattan. We choose Ashdod because the port is much larger than the one in Tel Aviv. A massive international airport will be constructed, partial drying and expansion of the coastline, as well as the construction of an enormous commercial and banking center, the largest in all of the Middle East. A high-speed train will be connecting the two cities, taking up to 10 minutes travel one way. And he stated also that at the same time we found out that in Mecca, during the main holidays, the magnitude is like that, a little less than 300,000 people that are inside the compound, what is called the Haram al-Sharif. So they've done all this research and they've studied all of these places to see how they handle crowds. And so they're planning the city of Jerusalem to be expanded so they can handle all the crowds that are going to come worldwide from different countries to the temple. We have also reached the provinces in India, and when we tried to see where the biggest convention in the world is, and we saw that on the Ganges, in the river itself, there are about 10 to 15 million Indians, but they spread in a linear fashion along the river. I mean, it's not that everyone is together inside the theater at the same time. He says, I mean, this is a theater that has no equal in the world. 7, 8 to 10 million people can be in the audience at the same time, and from all this extent when they come to the Temple Mount. So we see more, and we've really done some kind of research and conclusion on crowd flow more than static presence in this one moment. We enlarged the Temple Mount because they have blueprints and they've already got the plans for the temple, the blueprints for the temple itself. Now there's other buildings. It's not just the temple, it's a whole compound. And there's a Sanhedrin building that will be built to house representatives from the 70 nations, and then they will have the Sanhedrin body meeting with these representatives. And then, of course, this is where I believe that the Antichrist will sit down, and then he will be a king that the Sanhedrin picks to sit on the throne of David, so to speak. We enlarged the Temple Mount, added levels to it. We did what was possible within the limitations of the topography. Still, these numbers of millions cannot enter the Temple Mount simultaneously, and that's why the idea is to always enter and always leave in motion, constantly in motion. The design is already a parametric design. So a parametric design, I looked that up, and it says a design method in which features such as building elements and engineering components are shaped based on algorithmic process rather than direct manipulation. And then he goes on to say, which is not specifically related to holiness, but to the question of how we can plan a crowded space. And then we worked with consultants and transportation consultants, basically to understand how we bring all the people to get the closest to the crater at all, meaning the temple. And where are the stations that are a little outside the crater? As little below here, they can take an elevator or a wheelchair lift or an escalator and just go down safely, with an emphasis on traffic from the Olam pilgrim camps. I mean, from where we house the pilgrims during the pilgrimage days to the temple area. So they've got to have housing, they've got to have hotels, they've got to have places for people to stay. So all of this is within the Jerusalem municipality, within the architect's plans in the regional area of Jerusalem and surrounding areas to plan for places for people to stay, which is for the pilgrimages in particular during special holy days of the Lord. And he says, I mean, from where we house the pilgrims during the pilgrimage days to the temple area, but not as far as the Temple Mount. We don't want heavy traffic and motorized vehicles and so on in this exclusive area that Yoram calls the crater, or from the Scopus to the front. But the stations are spread out a bit on this outside, and people come down, and it's already a walking distance for a healthy person, or for people who find it hard. They will receive assistance from quiet electric vehicles, escalators, moving sidewalks. And in this way, they can approach the temple. But this area is a quiet area. It is an area where the emphasis is on the spiritual experience, while all the tumult, not to mention trading and so on, and food supply and so on, all of this is done outside. So they have, what they're planning is to have the place for the profane and the place for the believers. So basically they're planning to have the profane or the non-religious, non-holy portion be outside the camp, so to speak, and the temple that's in its holiness and all of that will be at this place called the crater. So it's going to be where they plan the temple to be in the middle, and everybody can hear everything that's going on within the temple itself, from the fact that it's like a natural amphitheater with the mountains surrounding it. And I think it's interesting because the article mentioned wealth, and it mentioned, being able to bring material funds and all of this. This is what I was telling you, that with Mystery Babylon, she gains wealth in the last days. One of the rabbis with the Turk Adnan Akhtar had made the comment, I think it was Rabbi Hollander, had said that the delicacies will be as dust. And when I heard that, I flipped out, because it's such a strange phrase, and it was mentioned in the book of Revelation that by her delicacies all the world was deceived. Now, why is the world being deceived? Because they will appoint a king with the Sanhedrin. That's their job. And he will sit on the throne of David in place of Yeshua, Jesus, because they don't accept their true king. So at the time that the white horse of the king, which I believe is King Charles III, as I've told you many millions of times, showing my own reasons why, not from other people's information. But I discovered that Charles has a white horse and the rider has a trumpet. The rider rides out, blows the trumpet to announce that the king has arrived. So the Sanhedrin has already commissioned a crown to be made that's made of gold, that they will give as a gift to the king that they choose when he comes to Jerusalem, and a Torah scroll that they've already made for him. Rabbi Berger of King David's tomb was responsible for getting all of that accomplished already. So now all they're waiting for is to appoint this king. And it's interesting that this is the architect, the regional city planner of Jerusalem. It's making all these plans that said that it would take 7 years from beginning to end to build the temple. Now, he's not just talking about the temple where people are worshiping, but the Sanhedrin building, and then these other little satellite buildings have to be built, where they keep the oil and the grain and the wine, and where they make the bread, the unleavened bread that they put on the table of showbread. So there's a lot to the building, not just the temple itself. So if the Sanhedrin building, it says that there's an abomination of desolation in the Bible that's put on the wing of the temple. This could very well be the Sanhedrin building that this replacement king sits down and claims to be God. I don't know that it will be in the temple building itself, but it could be, because they said in order to have the Shekinah supposedly return, the Ark of the Covenant has to be in this temple. So they're going to bring the old one out, maybe the one that's been hidden, and they're going to make people bow down to God there. But this is not going to work out well as they think, because you can't continue to not pay attention to the incredible testimony of their true heir and King Messiah and claim that his blood is worth nothing when he performed the covenant with many people so to save many people alive, and you're trampling over his blood as though it's a common thing. And then you're taking the blood of a red heifer and its ashes and trying to purify the people with that instead. So that rider on a white horse, when that happens, that's when the true heir, the true king, when the Sanhedrin appoints this king, I believe this is when Jesus opens the seal of the scroll that Daniel sealed up the book until the time of the end. It wasn't a book, it was a scroll. And it's got the sealed judgments, and the first one is popped open by the true heir as soon as the Sanhedrin picks a different king. So the temple does not have to be built first. The red heifer will be sacrificed by them, actually, I think, before the temple will be built, according to what the rabbinical people have said. So this is the truth. This is coming from the true architect and planner, the one who has made the architectural drawings of the temple complex and the temple building itself. It's already done. It's all ready to present to the Jerusalem municipality. It's just a matter of presenting it to them and also the Supreme Court. And this may include the fact that they've been trying to change the Supreme Court, like I talked about in videos before. The whole reason being is they're trying to get the Sanhedrin to replace that Supreme Court as the Supreme Court of the land. And this Sanhedrin is of the anti-Jesus spirit. So that is the Antichrist spirit that's there at Jerusalem. Christians need to understand this. You know, the judgments are going to come during the time of Jacob's trouble because of all of these things, of ignoring the testimony of the true King of Kings. And then he's going to descend from heaven, and his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, and the land will split, and water will come out from holy Mount Moriah, and then he will reign and take the throne, and that will be really incredible. To see all of these things coming to pass and to give you these details that are in secret, not presented to the world yet, you're very privileged to hear this because the Lord led me to these things, and so I'm letting the cat out of the bag. I've always been a cat lover. Meow. All right, you guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening for now. I hope that this gave you some new information that you're shocked about because it's truly astonishing. And these plans have been in the works in secret for quite some time now, at least 10 years. It's been going on behind the scenes. Just a matter of time, a matter of presenting the plans to the Jerusalem municipality and the Supreme Court for the approval, and then they can start construction. The day is coming. Can you believe 2,000 years has gone by since King Yeshua was here, Jesus? And now they're going to build a temple. And yes, it will be a physical temple on top of the Temple Mount, not underneath the Temple Mount. It's a building that they've already made the blueprints for. He is the one architect that made the plans. So this is not, you know, I mean, people have speculated strange ideas like we're the temple and, you know, Satan's going to come dwell in us and that's going to be the abomination of desolation. And I'm here to tell you that theory is just completely out and actually kind of dumb. These are real city planners and architects that have done major work and research to plan for millions from all nations to visit this rebuilt temple. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you later in the next video.